afternoon, very good evening to all our viewers. This is WION Wallet. I'm Sumit Chaturvedi. Let's see what is making headlines in the world of business this morning. One of the big deals in Indian e-commerce space, Flipkart Snapdeal, may be put on hold. Announcement likely today. India's second largest software exporter Infosys to expand in Europe to hire more locals. Tata Motors to make entry into compact SUV space with the launch of Nexon. We get you exclusive shots. And Indian markets jump in morning trade, Sensex up by over 100 points, Nifty up by over 25 points. Over to our top story, the proposed Snapdeal sale to Flipkart has been put on hold. And this is biggest story. That was one deal brewing in Indian e-commerce space. The deal may be called off as the founders and shareholders of struggling online marketplace have not yet agreed on terms of the deal. We're talking about Snapdeal here. The announcement regarding deal being called off could come as early as today morning. Now, over the weekend, Snapdeal, which is run by Jasper Infotech and Flipkart, they have cancelled a key meeting that had been scheduled for today to continue negotiations over the deal. Snapdeal is pushing ahead with a plan to survive as an independent entity that will involve company producing a majority of its 1,400 plus workforce and dramatically cutting the size of its business. Separately, SoftBank, Snapdeal's largest investor, was in talks to buy shares worth $1.5 billion in Flipkart too. Now, SoftBank had planned to invest $500 to $700 million in Flipkart and buy shares worth roughly $1 billion from its largest shareholder, Tiger Global Management. And it's not clear if this deal is still on. Last week, it seemed like the ongoing off again Flipkart and Snapdeal merger would finally be completed. On July 26, the board of online marketplace Snapdeal gave the go-ahead to the company to continue negotiations to sell itself to Flipkart, which had increased its buyout offer to $850 million 2 weeks ago. Now we tell the viewers what are the major issues that are proving to be a stumbling block in the one of the largest deal in Indian e-commerce space. The both rivals were supposed to be merged, but that is not happening now. Reason main is that the founders are against Snapdeal sales to arch rival Flipkart. The founder, Binny Bansal, they are not in favor of selling Snapdeal to Flipkart. That is the one main reason why Flipkart and Snapdeal could fall apart. The deal would not happen. Minority shareholders have raised objections. Some of the minority shareholders are not clearly happy with the deal happening. Major reason is valuation, and that's why they have raised objections to the deal. So clearly a big deal which has been brewing in Indian e-commerce space now may be called off. An announcement can come as early as today. It's been over 3 to 4 months since the talks were going on between Flipkart and Snapdeal to merge, but it may not happen at all, and that's a big news. There's a steep fall in valuation of Snapdeal at $850 million. While this is what is being valued by Flipkart to buy Snapdeal is just $850 million. We tell you how much it was. It was $6.5 billion in 2016. So from a staggering $6.5 billion in 2016, the valuation of Snapdeal has come down to $850 million. That's a big fall, and one more reason why Snapdeal-Flipkart deal may not happen, and the announcement could come as early as today. A lot of issues in both Flipkart and Snapdeal, but why Snapdeal would be okay? Because it was needing cash earlier. This is because Snapdeal last week sold off one of its subsidiaries free charge to Axis Bank. So that has got Snapdeal extra cash. Clearly, Snapdeal now is not in that dire need of cash which was needed earlier. That's why the Flipkart and Snapdeal, one of the big deals, those were brewing in Indian e-commerce space that would have led to consolidation in the market. That deal has fallen apart. Big benefit to Amazon, because Amazon's rival were Flipkart and Snapdeal. Had they come together, it would have given sleepless nights to Amazon, but that is not happening. Moving on and staying with the IT space, India's second largest IT firm, Infosys, is hiring more locals and investing heavily in Europe as it looks to tap into greenfield opportunities in its second largest market. Infosys is yet to see any impact of Brexit on tech spends and is witnessing a broad-based growth across sectors in Europe, a market that accounts for over 22% of its revenues. Infosys said Europe does not have the same degree of saturation as the US market. Europe accounted for 22.4% of Infosys' $2.65 billion revenue. Now, during the June quarter, the US, which is the largest market for Infosys, much like its peers, accounted for over 61% of the market compared to the US that grew 1.3% on a sequential basis. Europe expanded by 4.7% during the June quarter. IT companies, including Infosys, are hiring locals in foreign markets to ensure compliance with laws amid growing scrutiny by many countries on work visa usage. There is a fear that foreign workers are taking away jobs from locals, and governments in countries like the US, UK, Singapore and Australia have expressed concern on the matter and are seeking to tighten controls. So one big thing again coming is that Infosys is the big IT exporter of India, and it's going to Europe now to expand, but they will hire more and more locals. Bad news for Indian engineers who actually look for those offsite assignments so that they can make good money. But Infosys is now going to invest heavily in Europe, but it will hire more locals over there. Less hope for Indians who want to go and work for IT companies. There's a big change happening across IT sector in India. Infosys will go and hire more people in Europe. But Infosys is yet to see Brexit impact on spending. That was one fear that was in mind of Infosys management. Now it has not seen any impact of Brexit so far. Going forward, they may see, but right now there is no impact of Brexit that happened last year. Now, IT firms are witnessing broad-based growth in European Union. Well, after US market, they are expanding. In fact, they are de-risking themselves, and EU, European Union, is a big market for all of the big IT companies in India. So overall, it's broad-based. EU contributes just 22.4% to overall $2.65 billion Q1 revenue of quarter first revenue of Infosys. So there's a large space to grow. There's a big margin for Infosys. They can grow over there in Europe. That's why they're investing heavily, because just 22% of overall revenue is coming from Europe for Infosys, unlike US market, which contributes to 61% of revenue. Well, in June quarter, the quarter just ended, US market accounted for 61% of overall Infosys revenue, while EU, European Union, accounted for just 22%. So a lot of space to grow in EU, and that's why Infosys is going heavily in Europe, though they will hire more and more local. Infosys is India's second largest software exporter. That's quite known, and that's why it's very important that Infosys strategies should be right, because they earn a lot of forex for India, and also many good number of employees are employed in, we can say that, in Infosys. Now moving on and coming to global auto market, Germany's major car makers, they have been accused in a US lawsuit of acting as a cartel, colluding for nearly 2 decades to limit the pace of technological advances in their vehicles and stifle competition. These allegations have widened the scope of latest scandal to hit the nation's auto industry. Now, according to a complaint filed last week in San Francisco federal court in the US, the BMW, Daimler, Volkswagen and its Audi and Porsche brands, they have shared competitive information about vehicle technologies with one another from 1996 through at least 2015 in violation of antitrust laws. The suit, which seeks class action status on behalf of US drivers, says the companies agreed to limit the development of vehicle systems, including emission controls. The arrangement allegedly led to the development of so-called defeat devices used by Volkswagen to cheat on pollution tests. The supplier of Volkswagen's cheat software, Robert Bosch, was also named as a defendant in the lawsuit. Previously, 3 Bosch managers targeted as German diesel probe expanded. The suit filed is the second in the US to allege the anti-competitive actions by the companies over there. So another big story that German automakers, the bad news coming for them, it is not stopping. In US now they are being accused of colluding with each other and stifling competition by sharing information amongst each other and not making it public. So that's a big accusation coming for German car makers in US. BMW, Audi, Volkswagen, the big 3 car makers of Germany, especially in Europe, they have been sued over forming a cartel in United States. So US is very, very hard on these issues. Allegations of cartel suppressing technology. These car makers were sharing that information among themselves, and that was proving to a big problem, stumbling block for competition. So they had formed a cartel, alleged to have formed a cartel. On that, the probe is going on. The allegations widen the scope of auto scandal. There's already big scandal going on in US where Volkswagen has been accused of using defeat devices in this emission scandal, and now there's a probe on them on cartel formation. The cartel led to the development of defeat devices. That's one probe that's been going on in US since 2015 when the Volkswagen allegedly made some defeat devices to cheat emission norms. In fact, India was also one of the, we can say that, affected parties because of defeat devices. The devices allegedly used to cheat on pollution tests. The pollution tests, whenever they were conducted, the software used to detect that and used to improve the efficiency of the car. But when the car came on road, the software actually made the car emit more. That was the big scandal that was actually, we can discover in 2015. It was a global scandal and it cost $1.8 billion to Volkswagen. India was also one of the affected parties. Moving on and coming to electric car maker Tesla, that has launched the Tesla 3 over the weekend. But for the second time, the Chinese security researchers, they have been able to hack a Tesla Model X, turning on the brakes remotely and getting the doors and trunk to open and close while blinking the lights in time to music streamed from the car's radio. And in fact, they dubbed the unauthorized Xmas show. So Tesla, clearly that was hacked. Tesla has been in news because the Model S, the keys of Sedan S, were handed over to 30 employees on Friday. Well, this complex hacking involved sending malicious software to the car's web browser in a series of circuitous computer exploits. They were able to remotely control the car via both Wi-Fi and a cellular connection. The researchers informed Tesla of their discovery in June, and the company patched the vulnerability within 2 weeks. However, Tesla has said that it encourages such hacking because it helps Tesla to plug the loopholes. They would be improved, and that's what Tesla has encouraged them. But second year in a row, Tesla have been hacked, and that's one concern in electric cars going forward. And also autonomous vehicles or auto vehicles, there's a big concern that they could be hacked and could really put the overall safety of passengers in jeopardy. And that's why all car makers, electric car makers, are taking use of hackers to improve their performances and plug the loopholes. And now there is more, we can say that, control on internet in China, where Apple has removed some virtual private network applications from its stores in China. A move that could block users' ability to bypass a local web firewall and access overseas sites. VPNs, or virtual private networks, are popular in China as they help users get around the Great Firewall, a system used by China to control internet access. The removal is the latest sign of China's tightening measures to block individuals' access to virtual private networks, following shutdowns of several popular VPN services. The policymakers have prioritized stability ahead of twice-a-decade leadership reshuffle due in the fall. Let's come to India's stories, where Reliance Industries Chairman Mukesh Ambani took the nation by storm when he announced to launch 1500 rupees Jio phone. But now, telecom major and big competitor Idea has said it will also launch a slightly inexpensive handset as a counter to Jio phone. Idea is working with handset makers to launch a phone that will be slightly inexpensive but offer customers the freedom of choice. It is not yet clear how will the phone look, but it will also be a feature-rich phone. So clearly, telecom wars are getting murkier in India. Idea will soon have a joint venture with Vodafone, and Indian market will witness a three-way fight between market leader Bharti Airtel, Vodafone Idea combined, and Reliance Jio. But Reliance Jio has taken a big leap when it has launched Jio phone. It is clearly ahead of all these telecom majors, but a big war brewing in Indian telecom space, and one of the big beneficiaries of these wars could be Indian customers who would get to lay their hands on a number of cheap features and handsets. And over to UK, where Brexit deal, the life after Brexit is getting tougher, underlining divisions in the UK government over Brexit. Senior government ministers so far had not reached a consensus on retaining free movement of people for a transitional period. Divisions between ministers over Brexit strategy have become more open after Prime Minister Theresa May lost majority in an early election she called in June. With May away on holiday now, the debate has intensified. British Finance Minister Philip Hammond has led a push within the government to secure a business-friendly Brexit that avoids a sudden change in 2019 in the relationship between Britain and the EU, which buys nearly half of country's exports. Though an ally of British Foreign Minister Boris Johnson has also come out against Hammond's plan. So clearly, no consensus so far on what will happen, how the movement of people will be controlled post-Brexit. So in Brexit, there are problems occurring now. Senior ministers are not on the same page when it comes to people, the movement of people after Brexit. They have to do a lot of negotiations with EU, still have to do a lot of negotiations for coming out in EU and pay a huge bill. So, but they have to be clear about the major issues as far as we can say that Brexit is concerned. And coming to Indian IT industry now, which was the face of developing India in 1990s. But today, the lives of IT professionals is in a lurch. We bring you a special report by our correspondent, Nishita Virendra from Bangalore.
In the 1990s, the IT boom was the biggest talking point in India. It attracted millions of students and continued to do so year after year. It has nearly 40 lakh employees, but now industry experts are predicting that in the next 3 to 4 years, 2 lakh jobs could be lost every single year.
Information and technology is one of the largest employers in India's organized sector. But not all is well these days. Last few weeks have seen hundreds of layoffs, but IT majors say it's part of performance review. WION spoke to many IT professionals who lost their jobs recently.
The performance evaluation states that, it should be a warning which had to be given or a issue which had to be raised. Then a person is given some suggestion that, your performance is XYZ. So you might have to improve. Otherwise, you would go into a performance evaluation, because I was leading the team, so I know how things work in that process. So when I'm aware of the process, so you can't put the manager into that state, stating that your performance is bad.
I was assigned a particular project. That project was handed to one of the junior manager, and I was hoping that next major chunk of work is going to be assigned, because there is some restructuring going on in the organization. So I believe that it was going to happen that way. But it was totally surprising that my manager called me and said that we don't have opportunity right now, and I escalated to my senior manager, CTO level. I wrote a mail and asked time, and he explained that there is no alternative position available at this point of time, and sorry, I got an email from him. That's how it happened.
And there are many others with years of experience behind them who were asked to resign with little notice period. Bengaluru-based online counseling portal yourdost.com says retrenchment has seen more people seeking professional help.
In last few months, especially last 2-3 months, we are seeing a lot of people, lot of queries coming around, a lot of sessions happening which are around emotional support people need. People who have either been laid off or people who are scared will they be the next. We saw over 260 calls in 3 days, more than 800 messages that came around this topic in 3 days. Out of these 260 calls, 70% were the people who have been laid off, but there were good 30% of the people who have been, having that fear, will I be the next?
Let's talk about a new car that is going to hit Indian markets very soon. Tata Motors is going to make an entry into compact SUV segment. It's going to launch its compact SUV Nexon very soon. We got a preview of this Nexon and have got these exclusive shots for you. Tata Motors Nexon will come in 2 engine types, 1.2 litre petrol engine and 1.5 litre diesel engine. Take a look at the shots of Tata Nexon.
Many things which make it special. First is we are entering the fastest growing segment in Indian market. Honestly, for about 4-5 years back, this segment was not existing. 5 years back, this segment started growing, and today it amounts to 12% of the total market and growing at the rate of more than 100%. These are those people who are looking for a motoring solution which is exciting, which is worthy of possessing, and which not only looks good but drives well also. This is the customer for. This is the car for those who love motoring. We are entering at a time when this market is growing, and as I often say that as Tata Motors, we cover only 59% of the market. We have 41% of white space for us. With entry into Nexon, we add 12% more to our addressable markets. That's the importance of this.
So let's talk about this new car which is going to hit Indian shows very soon. Tata Nexon will come in 2 engine options, 1.5 litre diesel and 1.2 litre petrol engine. Nexon will compete with the likes of Ford EcoSport, also Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza, also Renault Duster. But with this, Tata is making a new entry into compact SUV segment which was so far untouched by Tata Motors. It's new segment which has been developed with the launch of Renault Duster around 6 years back, but now it's a crowded segment. That's why Tata will have to be different in terms of pricing when it comes to Nexon. And let's move to Indian markets after this. Indian markets today also opened in green. Sensex jumped over 100 points in the morning trade. As we speak, it's up around 80 points. Nifty also is above 10,000 marks, still above 10,000 marks. So sentiments are really positive, still positive in the Indian economy, and that's what Indian markets are showing. They are showing the resilience of Indian economy, which is in a positive shape. And to talk more on markets, we are joined by our analyst for today, Lavlesh Sharma. Good morning to you, Mr. Sharma. How do you see the trade happening today?
Hi, very good morning, Sumit. I think the trade should be with a positive bias. We are awaiting a bi-monthly event by RBI as well. And it is much expected that inflation is trending downwards, both tradable and non-tradable. So if there is still upside left, though August series may see some kind of a volatility, and the range of the market can be pretty much higher as compared to July. And I still believe the bias should be positive since the undertone of the market is bullish.
Okay, and about certain Indian global market, how are they doing, Mr. Sharma, and how are they likely to do going forward? What are the major cues over there?
Can you repeat your question?
What are the major cues over there in global markets, Mr. Sharma? How are they expected to perform?
Yes, I think global markets is awaiting Chinese PMI. I think that is one of the major things we need to look at here. It is slightly to be expected, less than 0.2, but still the momentum is picking up. Apart from that, we have got some, inflation data from Japan as well, and BOJ will be giving their, kind of a projection over inflation as well. So I think the More likely, scenario should be positive since last week earnings number by many of the tech giants from US also uplifted the sentiment of the global market. So I think that should also continue this week, though it will be eyed what is the Chinese PMI and Japan BOJ policy in this week.
All right, Mr. Sharma, thank you for talking to us and getting us this important perspective. So Indian markets once again are in green. Our Sensex has opened, we can say that in green, up by 80 points, and Nifty still up by 10. We can say that still hovering above 10,000 mark. A good positive side for overall Indian economy. But that's all we have in this edition of WION Wallet. For more news and updates, stay tuned to WION, and thanks for watching us.